Ladies and gentlemen, about a month ago, I did a segment. Brian Benjamin is 8th Democrat indicted in months as Donald Trump yet to be charged with anything. That was a segment I did last month. We now have 3 more Democrats in St. Louis indicted. Now, interestingly enough, I don't think they'll get the Michael Sussman treatment. Talk about privilege. Democrats pontificate, oh, the privilege. We're fighting against systemic injustices and privilege. Meanwhile, if you read a memoir of a Democratic politician in the 1800s, The Plunkett of Tammany Hall, a series of very plain talks, Democrats have engaged in honest graft since the 1800s. Republicans, too. Republicans also. But the Democrats have taken it to an art form. St. Louis alderman indicted on bribery, other charges. This is an ABC affiliate in St. Louis. St. Louis federal prosecutors say 2 current and 1 former St. Louis aldermen are facing charges accusing them of taking bribes and misusing their offices for personal gain. The U.S. Attorney's Office in St. Louis announced Thursday that Board of Aldermen President Louis Reed and 2 others were all indicted on May 25th. The main indictments allege they helped a small business owner receive tax abatements and other financial breaks in exchange for bribes. All 3 men pleaded not guilty during court appearances Thursday. So these are federal indictments against 3 Democrats. So the St. Louis alderman has a Wikipedia page. President Louis Reed, Democrat, on the Wikipedia page, and he's a Democrat. These are Democratic politicians, and you have to ask yourself, if you look around the country, of course there are Republican politicians being arrested and indicted as well, but not the number is nowhere near. And also, in aggregate, the types of charges or indictments, especially that state senator in Arizona, I mean, there's no comparison. I mean, you can look at former CNN employees, what they're charged with. I follow YouTube guidelines. I can't even really go there and explain what this entire monstrosity called the left or liberal Democrats, the world of wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats. They're getting indicted, arrested all the time, oftentimes on the most egregious, disgusting charges. Now, this in St. Louis was just, normal Democratic Party politics. They didn't really do anything differently. The interesting thing is they're not going to be given the benefit of the doubt that a D.C. jury gave to Michael Sussman. Okay? There are certain differences in the case between the 3 St. Louis Democrats and the D.C. attorney. Okay? There are certain differences between the 2 trials or indictments and likely outcomes that will point to absolute and massive hypocrisy among Democrats. Michael Sussman was given every single benefit of the doubt because when he was lying to James Baker, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, nobody believed that Baker actually was being deceived or duped because he was in on it also. That's why John Durham has to indict people under 18 U.S. Code 371. He has all the information. Okay, it was good that Robbie Mook pointed to explain that Clinton organized an effort by media to pump absurd, fake, false stories, which Democrats do all the time. How many stories on Trump had to be retracted? I can name easily 20 stories. But he didn't clear Lafayette Square. Don Jr. wasn't given advance notice of emails. All of these things were wrong, false. But hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen, right now. There's some people who don't like when I say that I have a stock market crash channel and a Bitcoin crash channel below. Well, I don't have any sponsors. The sponsor is you, me. We're doing this together if you enjoy this channel. I will actually start looking for sponsors once I get over 200,000 subs. I know I don't need to wait until 200,000, but I guess I just want to. But yeah, it's important when you have 3 YouTube channels that you're trying to grow. This one is almost at 200,000 subscribers. The stock market crash is almost at 20,000. The stock market crash channel, I have predicted exactly what's been taking place. Today the market was up. Yesterday it was down. Unfortunately, we're heading towards a catastrophic collapse. We've seen the downturn. We've seen the slow motion crash, and I predicted that in September. So go to the description section of every single one of my segments. And for people who say, oh, well, I don't like when you spend time, advertising your other channels. It's like, well, I was right, and I give some pretty good analysis pertaining to the financial markets, the stock market, and some good macroeconomic analysis and discussion on the stock market crash channel. So that's below in the pinned comment. I have a very important segment up today. So go there, and the Bitcoin crash to 10,000 or lower channel. That I don't want that to happen, but Bitcoin's going to crash to 10,000 or lower. Coinbase, Tether, these won't be around. The behemoths within the crypto world will not be around, unfortunately. And I explained that on the Bitcoin crash channel. But hit subscribe to my new Patreons. Thank you. And if you want to give a super thanks to this segment, thank you so very much. So, St. Louis alderman indicted on bribery, other charges. The interesting thing is that you have to ask yourself, you look at Andrew Cuomo, and you look at Whitmer in Michigan, and you look at very peculiar decisions the governors in those states would make right after business arrangements with corporations that are linked to what happened 2 years ago. Let's just leave it at that. Okay? You have to ask yourself, when New York Democrats are going after Andrew Cuomo for putting the New Yorkers who were the most at risk in nursing homes where 10 to 13,000 lost their lives because of the actions of Andrew Cuomo. And you look at certain business or corporate arrangements with the state, and you have to ask yourself, okay, why did he make these decisions? Okay, unfortunately, that is not like, there's honest graft and then there's dishonest graft to Democrats. That's what happened in Tammany Hall. You can read that book. But they view things as honest graft. Well, you can't prove in a court of law that Andrew Cuomo or Whitmer or anyone else made a decision because they just happened to benefit financially, or they happen to get money for their campaign. You can't prove it. But with an alderman in St. Louis, 3 Democrats, the Democratic Party has absolutely no problem with the federal government, finding out about the bribery charges. So that's Democratic politics for you. And then when people say, oh, there's never going to be any justice, it's like, well, Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome was not built in a day. The fact that the Durham probe exists is a great thing. The fact that Trump defeated Clinton and was president already is a great thing. The entire system is not made for someone like Trump, who doesn't want never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts, who's okay with imposing tariffs as a short-term tactic for a longer-term strategy. Okay, now we don't have the economy to impose. Well, we're doing that. We're sanctioning one country. It's actually biting us in the rear end. But we really don't have the economy right now to do anything. The economy's in free fall. And with Trump, we had a great economy. We had record low unemployment, but also inflation at around 2%, gas prices less than $3. Now we have inflation at 8 to 9%, and gas prices through the roof, $7 in some locations. And people go to the market. Not only do they go to the supermarket and it's far more expensive, but there's crime, homelessness. I mean, the same Democrats that said Trump worked at the Kremlin, the same Democrats who wanted to end economic activity, shut everything down, and then 2 years later blame oil companies for inflation, when those same oil companies are suing President Mashed Potato Brains, within the lawsuit, they're saying his administration, the policies, the Democratic policies, those wonderful policies to try to save the planet are actually making oil and gas far more expensive for the average consumer. It's within the lawsuits. And 14 states and oil and gas associations were suing this administration. But again, it's never food shortages, never the fault of Democrats. Inflation, or certainly not their fault. Geopolitical nightmare. Ever wonder why this is the one geopolitical catastrophe that the United States really doesn't want to be a part of in terms of negotiation? We're usually we're usually a part of every single calamity on the planet. And Democrats view themselves to be these cold warriors, and they think that they're in some way going to topple yet another regime change. It never works. It didn't work under President Obama. Actually, it did not work at all. Look what he did to Libya with the failed intervention. And now they think in their warped minds that if they let another country do our fighting for us against our mortal enemy, which, by the way, President Obama stated the 80s want your foreign policy back, Mitt Romney. So you can see Democrats don't really care about, being adversaries with Russia. It was just political expedience. When it suited them, they wanted a reset, and McCain and Romney were the hawks towards that country, and President Obama was the dove. He was less hawkish, less militant towards the Kremlin. But see, that's the way it goes. Democrats have pretty much all of media because they're journalists who are essentially activists. They hide Hunter's emails from the world when it was most important for the United States to actually look at that story. The New York Post was suspended on Twitter, so they utilize social media algorithms and Twitter to silence anything that hurts them. And then they blame another country when we find out that Bernie Sanders was cheated. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. Not a lot of people are talking about the 3 Democrats indicted, a federal indictment for bribery. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Go to the Stock Market Crash and Bitcoin Crash channels right now. I'll have a segment on this channel in about 2 hours. Thank you. On this channel.